con Olivier, que nos va a estar acompañando, nos está acompañando desde Francia, así que esperemos un minuto y comenzamos con esta conversación junto con Olivier. Perfecto. Comenzaremos entonces con esta charla de un clic. Primero que todo, desearles muy buenos días a todas y todos. En nombre de la Fundación Educacional Seminarium, les damos la más cordial bienvenida a esta nueva charla online a un clic. Hoy estaremos hablando sobre un nuevo modelo educativo que nos ha hecho repensar la educación de cómo la vemos hoy. Hoy estaremos junto al cofundador de École 42, Olivier Crouzet. Él es un gran referente internacional que nos está acompañando desde París, Francia, y está haciendo un gran esfuerzo para poder conectarse y que podamos conversar junto con los docentes y las comunidades educativas y quienes quieran participar de esta charla, porque queremos que él pueda contarnos cómo ha sido su experiencia en educación y contarnos más acerca de este modelo que está revolucionando y nos está haciendo repensar la educación de cómo la vemos hoy. Comentarles un poco acerca de Olivier. Olivier es cofundador y director pedagógico de École 42, escuela totalmente gratuita, presente en 26 países, en la que se utiliza la metodología denominada Peer Learning. Esta metodología es diseñada por él y se basa en proyectos. Algo interesante de esta metodología es que no tiene docentes ni transferencia de conocimiento. En este modelo, las y los estudiantes debaten, intercambian ideas, prueban soluciones a sus problemas reales hasta alcanzar sus metas y son evaluados por sus compañeras y compañeros. Durante su trayectoria se ha desempeñado como administrador de sistemas del tercer proveedor de servicios de Internet más importante de Francia, su país natal, como también se desempeñó como director pedagógico del Instituto Epitech, uno de los más reconocidos en esta nación, en la formación de profesionales del área de informática y que cuenta con una matrícula de 4.000 estudiantes. Su trayectoria lo ha llevado a ser invitado en importantes eventos internacionales de innovación en la educación, organizado por entidades como la OCDE y la Comisión Europea. Pero ¿por qué estamos tratando este tema de repensar la educación? Principalmente porque los mercados laborales cambiaron y la educación debe ser adaptada a estos cambios. Queremos que pueda ser parte de este cambio que el mundo necesita en relación a la contribución directa que tiene la formación de niñas, niños y jóvenes, para un mercado laboral más enfocado en las reales necesidades de la sociedad, así como más consciente del entorno en que nos encontramos. Además, porque creemos que es importante profundizar sobre los cambios que viven los trabajos actuales y cómo se vislumbra la educación del futuro. Queremos comentarles también que este día 28 de julio Olivier será uno de los expositores en el Seminario de Educación para el Trabajo del Futuro, que Fundación Educacional Seminarium está organizando. A través del chat de este Zoom le estamos dejando el link para que puedan inscribirse a este seminario, que es una instancia totalmente gratuita y abierta a la comunidad. Más al final de esta charla vamos a estar comentando acerca de quiénes nos van a estar acompañando en este seminario. Olivier va a ser uno de los speakers que va a estar ese día acompañándonos. Y es por eso que lo tenemos aquí, para que él nos pueda dar una pincelada de qué va a ser lo que vamos a estar hablando en el Seminario de Educación para el Trabajo del Futuro, que va a ser este día 28 de julio, para que puedan reservar la fecha y inscribirse de manera totalmente gratuita. Queremos invitarlos a que puedan seguir conectados a esta charla online junto a Olivier. Ya vamos a estar con Olivier, pero antes queremos que nos puedan escribir por el chat desde dónde nos están, desde dónde desde dónde nos están viendo. Sabemos que se inscribió gente de muchos lados, de Argentina, de todos los lugares de Chile, de Colombia, de México, tenemos inscritos, así que por favor en el chat escríbanos desde dónde nos están viendo. Pero nuestro expositor hoy será Olivier, pero como ustedes siempre son los protagonistas, así que les invitamos a que a través del chat también puedan ir haciendo sus preguntas, y la cual va a ser recabadas por nuestro equipo y leídas al final de la presentación de Olivier. Y bueno, sin más, vamos a lo importante. Muy bienvenido, Olivier.
Well, thank you very much, Barbara. I'm very glad to be here today and to present you what is 42. Let me just launch here my presentation and share my screen with you. It will be probably easier for everyone to understand.
Perfecto, Olivier. Olvidé mencionar algo muy importante antes que puedas comenzar con tu presentación, de que Olivier, por supuesto, es de Francia y habla inglés y francés. Por lo tanto, para que podamos escuchar su presentación en español, necesitamos ir a su canal, donde aparece un mundo, donde dice interpretación al final, abajo del Zoom, en la barra abajo del Zoom, deben permanecer en el canal de español. Si ustedes quieren escuchar la presentación en inglés, pueden ir al canal de inglés. Estamos con traducción simultánea, así que Olivier va a poder escuchar también sus preguntas después en su idioma. Así que partamos, Olivier.
Thank you. So, today I will talk with you about 42 and our special pedagogical model. And thank you for the very nice introduction, Barbara. But you almost spoiled a little bit what I'm going to explain right now, but thank you anyway. So 42 is an ICT school. It's a coding school, and it has been created back in 2013 in Paris, here in France. This school have been designed for higher education, meaning that we mostly have people after high school and above 18 years old. What I would like to do today is present you 42, a brief history, how the pedagogical model works, and hopefully I'll try to convince you that we are one possible example of digital transformation into education. In France, we have been created by Xavier Niel. He is owning one of the 4 telecom companies in France. And he actually decided to create this coding school because of 2 main reasons. Let me just try to switch my slide. Okay, here we go. Usually France is known as the 7th world economy, depending on what kind of report or what kind of institution you are asking. And we consider that this is a result of France negotiating pretty well the very first industrial revolution 150 years ago. Unfortunately, if we are looking at the e-economy, we do not have such a high rank. It also depends on which kind of report you are looking at, but we are definitely running out after the different situation. We are running after ICT professional to fulfill all the different situations that the French economy is currently seeing. France is not the only one trying to find ICT professionals. We also have all the European countries, and there is a huge lack of 500,000 of ICT professionals right now in all over Europe. Our founder was facing this huge lack of ICT professional, and owning a telecom company, he did need to try to find a way to provide, to bring more professionals on the labor market. So that's the first reason. There is a second reason that lead us to the creation of 42. The second reason is the disconnection between society and education. From our perspective, the current French pedagogical models, the current French system does not provide the expected skills for the society and for the companies. We think that our school in France is still focused on the very first industrial revolution and not focused on the new digital transformation and digital revolution we are currently facing. For example, collaboration is a very important strength nowadays in companies, but collaboration in a classroom is still called cheating very often. Also, we do have companies that are looking for people who can innovate, think out of the box. And this is not what usually happens when you have a series of students out of the same engineering school with the same degree and exactly the same training. They are solving the problems all the same way. And this is not what are expecting a lot of companies to do some real innovation here. We did have a very specific case. We saw that a lot of people with ICT talent actually did drop out of public education. So we knew that the public education in France, at least, have been very good to promote France up to the 7th world economy, but is not good anymore, is not relevant anymore regarding the e-economy. So that's why we decided to create 42. So here we've got a nice picture of one of our cluster. We call them clusters. It's a giant computer rooms. We can see here around 300 computers. And we have 3 different floors like that, just only in Paris. Students can come and go. They can connect any computer without any problem. Our school 42 is actually not only in Paris. We currently have a lot of different campuses all around the world. Many of them are located in Europe, but we already have 44 different schools, campuses, and more than 15,000 students. The idea here is to provide exactly the same training with the same pedagogical approach across all the different campuses. At the very beginning, we decided to bring 2 important ideas when we created 42. First, we wanted to have absolutely no degree requirement. It was something that was very important for us because we knew that, well, there was the French high school degree was not revealing ICT talent. What we are looking for is people who will be able to create piece of software, people who will be able to develop and code what's needed by any different part of the economy. And we knew that with this disconnection between public education and this disconnection with the actual needs from the companies, we knew that relying on classic public degrees was not what we were looking for. For us, the public high school degree reveal a huge number of skills, but not the one we are exactly looking for. So that's why anyone can apply above 18 years old. Anyone can apply to 42. We also wanted to do something else. We wanted a school completely free for the students. There is absolutely no tuition fees. The idea here is to try to fight what have been seen for the last decade in the famous PISA results from the OECD that is tracking the level of education in many different countries around the world. There was this very bad ranking for France regarding the fact that people from very poor suburbs, very difficult social situation, had a lot of difficulties to reach higher education. So we also wanted to reduce as much as possible what usually prevents someone from a poor education to get into a school in higher education. So we wanted to select people with ICT talent, regardless the school background and regardless the social background. For that, we decided to have a very strong selection process. The first part of the selection process are online games. Our students, our applicants start with doing some small online games. For us, it's very focused on logic games. The idea is to see if someone can solve small puzzles and then prove that they may have the ability to think the way a coder need to think to solve a problem and to code a piece of software. So this is the first part of the selection process. Then we've got the second part of our selection process, which is called la piscine. It's a French word for swimming pool. And it means that it's a 4 weeks long immersion on campus. You are still an applicant. You don't know if you will be selected, but during 4 weeks, you will be able to taste if you like ICT. Maybe at some point you will realize, okay, I try coding, but I don't like coding. And then the applicant will also be able to taste if they fit into our very different pedagogical model called peer learning. It's something that can be very surprising for the students. Some of them will be very quickly at ease. Others may be completely lost in this different way of working and of learning. So that's why we have this 4 weeks long immersion where it will be possible for the students to figure out if 42 is a good training for them or not. Not only if you are already convinced that 42 is for you and then realize that maybe it's a little bit more complex or complicated or different from what you thought initially, or the opposite. Maybe you just try the selection process for fun and then realize through the piscine that actually it's a good path for you and it may lead you to a real job and a sustainable job. So today Paris is open 24/7 and we have more than 3,000 active students. And here is our pedagogical model. At first, we have no lecture, no teacher, but we also have no MOOC. It means that we are completely removing the knowledge transfer. So what are our students doing? Well, they are actually creating a real piece of software. They are coding from day one. And the idea is to be completely immersed. Oops, sorry. A little bit too much. Okay, sorry, my presentation is going way too fast. Trying to get back. Let me reverse it and present everything at once. So our students are facing a project. They need to develop and create a real piece of software. And it's 100% hands-on curriculum. It's also 100% project-based curriculum. The job of our students is to be able to face a problem where they have no clue, they have no idea of what the solution can be. They will need to search for information. They will need to verify if the information is correct, if the information is not completely obsolete. Maybe the information is irrelevant for the project they want to do. Then they will have to verify if this information is okay or not and can be used for the project. It's usually something that they can't be done alone. That's why it's called peer learning, and it's 100% collaborative. At some point, everyone will be completely stuck and will need to start debating with each other. You will ask your neighbors, okay, how did you understand the project, the subjects? Okay, I think that we can solve the project this way. And what we want to create here is to create collective intelligence. So all together, the students will be able to find new ideas that no one had in the first time. This is a try and fail approach. It's a place where you will need to try something, figure out at some point that it's not the correct path, then go back and try something different, maybe zigzag at some point. When your project is over, you go through the peer evaluation system. Every student is evaluated by 5 other students inside the community. And every student also will have to evaluate other students. So everyone will be at the same time evaluated students, but also an evaluator. You will receive some judgment from others, but you will also have to judge the work of your peers. All of this work in a gamified system. If you are failing a project, you will retry the same project, just like a video game, a level inside a video game. Also, it does allow to have an individual pace. Let me try now to switch again. Oops, not this one. Okay, this one. On the background, maybe you can see a very strange design with different circles and stuff like that. This is actually a representation of our entire curriculum. Students need to start from the center and we'll go through the different circles. And when they complete all the circles, they have completed the common core of the curriculum. Every single small circle represents a project. And when the common core is completed, every student will have access to all the different branches all around the biggest circle. The students will go through a series of projects inside the common core. Then they will have their own choice to create their own specialization in the second part of the curriculum. Regarding the content, what we aim at the end of the common core is to have the minimum set of skills to be able to start an internship and to start a very entry-level job. And then in the second part of the curriculum, the students will be able to address different topics, classic ICT topics, meaning that you will have artificial intelligence, security, kernel programming, graphics, mobile development. Also, you will have web development, etc., security. So it's a kind of buffet, I would say, for the students in the second part. So they will get their own personal profiles. Along with the gamification system, we do use 17 skills, 12 technical skills and 5 soft skills. Every student will have its own separate profile at the end, depending on the choice he will do during his curriculum. Along with the gamification, you can see here all the traditional vocabulary associated with games, experience points, level, skills, currency. We have quests and badges. We also have houses, just like in Harry Potter. Of course, also, collaboration is very important to exchange ideas, even when you do have solo projects, or also when you have team projects. You will need to interact with your peers inside your own team, but you will also need to interact between different teams facing the same bigger projects. Our goal here with the gamification is to have an extra motivation level, because some of our students do like video games. Not all of them. For example, we have more than half of our students that never code before, and it's totally okay. And we also have more than 33% of our students without the high school degree. So there is a strong difference on the school background and as well regarding the social background for our students. It's a very heterogeneous population. The second important point for us regarding the gamification was to legitimate a try and fail approach. When you are playing a video game, you know that you will fail the first level 1 or 2 times. You know that you will fail the second level maybe 10 times before succeeding it and access the third level and so on. So we want our students to dare trying something new, to do not be afraid to fail at some times when they want to try something. So we consider our pedagogical model, and it has been historically the case, we consider our pedagogical model to be very close to what is happening inside companies. When you have your own job inside a company, well, you have no lecturer, no teacher, you need to create a real piece of software because it will be sold to your internal customer or external customer. Today, if you want to have a successful product on the market, you need to start very early the collaboration, not only with your own development team, but also with the marketing team, with the law team, with the commercial team, the sales team. It's something that is today very important because not a unique brain cannot today contain all the available information that will make your product successful on the market. Also, we do have a lot of tech companies nowadays that are using a lot of peer reviews, some flat management, a lot of individual responsibilities and flexibility for the employees. It allows us to have students.
No, mi amor, porque
very quickly.
Si en la tarde.
It allows us to have students that very quickly will be available to be productive inside a company. Our pedagogical model also can be tied to some very well-known pedagogical experiments. Here you've got pictures of Maria Montessori or Célestin Freinet or Jean Piaget, and at the top also Sugata Mitra. He did a very interesting experience in the slum in New Delhi 20 years ago with a computer embedded into a wall. And it was a very, very interesting experience. And I encourage you to have a look at the TED talk from Sugata Mitra if you have a couple of minutes for that. It's something that is definitely very interesting. All these pedagogical experiments actually, from our perspective, share the same, almost the same pedagogical approach, which is for us the social constructivist approach, meaning that the brain of a learner is not an empty jar that can be filled by a teacher, but the brain of each learner is built by the learner himself through practice and through social interactions. So that's definitely one of our fundamental beliefs here. We also had some comments regarding our pedagogical model of people telling us, hey, it looks like the learning context of a baby who tried to learn how to work, how to talk. Well, I'm not a baby expert here, so I will leave this comment to a specialist. Maybe just a few extra elements. A few results today, but it's rather easy. We've got a lot of job offers, of internship offers, of apprenticeship offers in most countries, but there is a huge lack of ICT professionals everywhere. We also are, of course, getting all the evaluations from companies. These are one of the major quality indicator of our training. We do have so far very, very good evaluations from companies. It's something that, of course, we look not every day, but very, very often. We also have, oops, not sure what is happening. Some strange pop-up interaction, sorry about that. We also have some students who start their career before the end of the curriculum. Right after the end of the common core, some students are ready to start internships, but they immediately get very interesting opportunities and very good offers. So some students choose to quit 42 right in the middle with something that is completely usable inside the market. And they will start with a junior developer kind of job inside a company, while some of them want to complete the entire curriculum to reach more software developer profiles, software engineer profiles, or CTO sometimes, or data scientist profiles. We are also trying to verify with the companies if we are indeed developing the correct skills for the digital transformation. What we are doing, well, obviously we are developing technical skills among our students. Algorithm, object-oriented programming, artificial intelligence, security, database, networking, and so on. But we are actually lying a little bit to our students because our real goal is not exactly this one, because this technical skill will be obsolete in 5 or 10 years. And we don't want our students in 10 years getting back to us asking, hey, I'm completely lost. All the technical stuff I've changed for the during the last 10 years, and now I'm completely obsolete myself, so I need to be trained again. We want to avoid this. And to avoid this, what we are currently doing is, through our pedagogical model, we consider that we are developing problem-solving skills, adaptation skills, all these soft skills that will allow students to have a sustainable career, because he will be able to face new problems and to solve them. He will be able to face new kind of technology, new coding language, and he will be able to learn them when he needs it. He also will be able to use his creativity and create some innovation inside the company. Finally, the main goal here is to create an agile state of mind, to be able to face the unknown, or even more, for the best of them, perhaps, to create the future, to shape the future, because they are pioneer in their own activity and they are part of new upcoming technologies or coding languages. In a more classical way, we do have a lot of hackathons, conferences, a lot of side projects with companies and schools. For example, we do have twice a year a special 2 weeks long hackathon with HEC, which is the most famous business school here in France. And it's very interesting to see these teams, half from students from 42, half students from this business school, to be think together and to answer and offer a true or a simulated one offer from a young entrepreneur. We consider this kind of interaction that are very good for the skills and the company integration, or maybe also to try to develop the entrepreneurship feeling for our students. We do also have an experiment with Pôle emploi. It's a name of the French Unemployment Office. And we do have a special experiment with them. They bring to us something like 30, so it's a very small group, 30 people currently unemployed, usually 50 years plus. And for them, it's very complicated to get back into the labor market. So they spend 1 year, 1 full year with us. And after this year, they actually find a job for the 10 to 15 years before retirement. It's something that is very important for us and part of our current experiment to address a little bit more all the upskilling and reskilling needs from many countries and many companies as well. And then finally, I presented it. We've got this entrepreneurship program with one of them with the biggest incubator here in Paris, which is called Station F, with more than 1,000 startups over there. So to conclude, I would say that, well, 42 is one of the possible answers to help and support the growth of the digital economy. But it's also at the same time a different educational path. For some of our students, being in 42 or in the traditional educational model, it's exactly the same. They are successful in both models. But for other students that did fail in public education, well, sometimes for them, it's a second chance school. So we are definitely glad to offer something different. It does not fit anyone. We do have people at the very beginning of the selection process just telling us, hey guys, you are completely crazy. I can't be there anymore. It's not possible for me. But at the same time, it's also a place where some students completely reveal themselves and are telling us, I did not like school. I was really not comfortable in public education. And now I completely feel at ease, and thank you for that. So we consider that it's also interesting to offer this different educational path. And I think that we are an example of what could be digital transformation into education. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy my presentation. And I think now it's time for the Q&A.
Perfecto, Olivier. Muchísimas gracias por esta gran presentación que hemos podido escuchar, que es un modelo pedagógico que no estamos acostumbrados a ver aquí en Chile ni en los países de Latinoamérica. Así que estamos muy agradecidos que nos traigas esta manera de repensar la educación, de cómo lo estamos haciendo y anteponernos a los desafíos que nos vamos a encontrar en el futuro. Invitamos a las personas a que puedan prender sus cámaras. Y bueno, vamos a partir con las primeras preguntas que nos llegaron al chat y les invitamos también a que puedan continuar haciendo sus preguntas a través del chat. La primera pregunta es, en Chile tenemos graves problemas de cobertura internet. ¿Cómo podríamos participar de su escuela si no tenemos buen internet? Olivier, coméntanos.
In all the different existing campuses, we do have these big computer rooms. We know that during the COVID, there was a lot of people who switched from offline to online. It's about work, but it's also about schools, about learning. And we do consider that, and we did so on many campuses, on almost all campuses, we did so that it was actually very complicated for young students to switch from offline to online. We consider that in most countries, right after the high school, which is our main target, we consider that there is no skills, no remote skills, and there is no collaboration skills yet for our students. So that's why we ask our students to come on campus, at least for the common core. The first part of the curriculum must be completed completely on site. So if there are some difficulties at home to reach internet and providing an environment that is completely enough to complete the curriculum on campus is one of our goals, because we consider that doing the curriculum remotely is not a good solution right now, considering the skills that most people have when they are just out of high school. So we could consider that creating a campus in such kind of area, like Chile, it will be in a place and where the internet connection will be good enough, so the students on site, on campus, will be able to correctly progress on the curriculum.
Muchísimas gracias, Olivier, por tu respuesta. Antonio Osorio nos pregunta, ¿cuál sería, con esa forma de enseñanza entre pares, el rol del profesor?
Well, the role of the teacher in 42, it's something that actually does not exist. We currently have a pedagogical team that is creating the curriculum and each project of the curriculum. And today, we indeed have absolutely no teachers. There is no classroom in 42. If we try just to extend a little bit more the questions to more traditional schools, I consider that the role of the teachers should switch from a specialist, let's say in math or in history or in a specific topic, to a specialist in pedagogy, and being someone inside among his own students who will be able to animate and to try to create as much as possible the best learning context, so the students or the children will be able to correctly learn all together. More a kind of facilitator with a very good knowledge of the pedagogical principles. I think it's what should become teachers nowadays. And it's also, even for a specialist in math or history, today there are way more information that than what could actually be stored in just one brain. And even for a math teacher, he can't know everything, sorry. So he will always have these days students saying, hey, sorry, sir, but Wikipedia is telling exactly the opposite from what you are telling us. So I think it's the knowledge transfer should be stopped, but then the teacher should now have this position of facilitator and also guide all the children and the students to deal with this huge amount of data that can be available, also to deal to how to collaborate and how to exchange inside themselves in the team inside a classroom. It reminds me, I had a while ago, I did meet the founder of Escuela Nueva. I think it's a kind of primary schools that have been created in Colombia, if I'm correct. And it was not about digital or internet, but the teacher already had this position of facilitator, because it was a unique school with children from 6 years old up to 10 years old in primary school, a unique class with different levels inside. So the teacher had to organize the different teams depending on the level and the skills of each student. And I think it was a very interesting approach, using books, because it was in remote areas, in mountains, and it was complicated to get internet over there. But I think this approach and this position of the teacher was very good.
Muchísimas gracias, Olivier, por tu respuesta. Tenemos otra pregunta de Oscar Gajardo, una pregunta muy importante y que me imagino que muchos nos estamos preguntando lo mismo. Dice, ¿qué pasos sugiere para instalar su propuesta en entornos educativos tradicionales? ¿Cómo hacemos esta transición?
This transition can indeed be very complex in more traditional environments. I've seen, at least in France, going through different conferences, I've seen a lot of very interesting initiatives. Unfortunately, these initiatives never spread across the entire group of teachers in France, in primary school or even in high school. But I think there is space for many teachers to try something different and to have a more interactive approach and to place more often the students in a active position instead just of receiving some information. And also trying to develop some teams, some groups, some collaboration. I think it's something that can be done. As an example, I will talk about Sugata Mitra. He was part of my presentation. And after his experience with a computer embedded in a wall in New Delhi, he created the self-organized learning environment. And he did test that in UK, in primary school in UK. And it was a self-sustainable afternoon for teachers in primary school. And it's a different way of working, a different way of interacting. Children are in groups, in small teams. And at the very beginning, there is just one simple question: why dinosaurs did disappear at some point? And then every group will have to create a panel with drawings and looking with an internet access, looking for extra information and trying to debate. And then there is this global presentation in front of all the other children to initiate some debate. And maybe some of them will say, hey, I don't understand why you are saying that, or but I did find a different answer to this question, and so on. And the teacher here is animating each group and then animating this strong debate at the end. I think it was something that was actually interesting. It can be just isolated. And a second example would be what we are actually currently doing in 42 in France. There is, for a few years now, in primary school, the official program contains some not ICT training, but at least ICT or internet culture for the very young children. But not a lot of teachers actually do have the knowledge to correctly implement this part of the program. What we want to offer is to offer a bundle, a self-sustainable bundle, where it will be possible to go through the different elements of the program, trying to detect fake news, understand very basics of algorithm, creating or editing a video or a drawing and such kind of basic stuff with a computer, but that should be part of the knowledge of every citizen. And it's something that we are trying to do with just 30 classes so far, but we want to scale up right now. And we use this as a Trojan horse to try also to bring more collaboration and more peer learning in primary school. So maybe in a few years, I will be able to present you an actual realistic way to make such kind of transition, or at least to introduce such kind of different pedagogical model inside a school, a classroom in a primary school.
Muchísimas gracias, Olivier, por tu respuesta. Nos han llegado muchas preguntas muy interesantes. Por supuesto, nos encantaría que Olivier permaneciera aquí por mucho tiempo más y pudiéramos resolver tantas dudas de este modelo que es distinto a lo que nosotros estamos acostumbrados a escuchar. Pero me encantaría poder ir terminando con la última pregunta de Jorge Alfaro, y nos pregunta: ¿Cómo los estudiantes obtienen el conocimiento necesario para enfrentar sus proyectos?
Well, to face our project, the students will look on the internet. That's their main source of information. Maybe I will not exactly use the word knowledge. Let me just explain. In ICT, what is true today may be completely false or obsolete tomorrow. Technologies are evolving. Sometimes the network bandwidth has a lower cost than the time of CPU. Sometimes it can be the opposite. So answering an ICT problem will not be done in the same way, depending on different elements that can change. It can be the size of the company, it can be the cost of a different piece of hardware, and your solution today will probably won't be the solution tomorrow, or even today in a different environment. So what we want our students is not to acquire some knowledge, but to be able to look for knowledge that they need to solve the current problem. And maybe after that, to not really remember exactly the knowledge they got. Of course, they will keep some piece of knowledge, and we know that because they are manipulating, they are using it. But we would like to be sure that every time they are facing exactly the same problem, they ask themselves again the question, okay, what is the knowledge I need? And should I again try to look for information that could be relevant for my problem? And forgetting a little bit, I think it can be something very interesting. If you know how to solve a project once, you know how to solve it 10 years later. And if the first time you were able to find the needed knowledge, you can forget completely the knowledge because you know that you will be able to find it again when you will need it again 10 years later. And for us, this will also avoid replicating exactly the same solution when the solution is not valid anymore, and avoiding trying to bring something to a company that is not relevant anymore for it. So there is this huge amount of data available. Finding the knowledge is less and less the real challenge, but filtering the knowledge is probably one of the biggest challenge today. And it's not only valid for ICT, but I think it's valid for many different topics. And in some ways, it joins your own critical thinking about, okay, is this information true or false? It can be not only the blog you are looking at to try to solve your ICT problem, your coding problem, but it can also be some news you get on the social media, and maybe try to figure out if it's something that you can rely on or not.
Muchísimas gracias, Olivier, y nos vamos a quedar con una reflexión que hace Claudia Soto. Nos dice: más que conocimiento, yo debería preguntar cómo el estudiante alcanza los objetivos de aprendizaje del currículum nacional. Quedarnos con eso. Te queremos agradecer tremendamente, Olivier, por enseñarnos y acercarnos a este modelo pedagógico. Deseamos que en Chile también se pueda implementar y sabemos que todos podemos ser un factor de cambio para poder impulsar a que los estudiantes tengan las habilidades que se requieren para los mercados laborales y puedan alcanzar los objetivos del aprendizaje. Me encantaría que pudiéramos continuar con esta conversación, pero esta presentación de Olivier también la van a poder ver durante el seminario de educación para el trabajo del futuro, que lo vamos a estar realizando este 28 de julio. Los invitamos a cada uno de ustedes a inscribirse. Les vamos a dejar por el chat nuevamente el link de inscripción para que puedan unirse a este seminario donde vamos a estar hablando de cómo vinculamos la educación con los mercados laborales. Vamos a estar, además de Olivier Crouzet, nos va a estar acompañando Sylvain Gaudreau. También nos va a estar acompañando Patrick McDonald y también el rector de Educativo, vicerrector académico de Educativo ese día. Les invitamos a que puedan unirse a este seminario para que podamos seguir profundizando. Y no queremos cerrar esta charla online a un clic sin antes mencionar y agradecer a cada uno de nuestros socios que nos acompañan y que hacen posible cada una de estas instancias. Estamos hablando de BeReaders, SM, Fundación Codea, con su iniciativa de Ideo Digital, además de GTD, INACAP y Duoc. Así que les invitamos a que podamos seguir conectados y esperamos verlos a cada uno de ustedes el día 28 de julio, y les invitamos nuevamente a que puedan inscribirse porque es una instancia gratuita, abierta a la comunidad, donde vamos a volver a estar con Olivier para que si hubieron preguntas que no pudieron ser respondidas hoy, puedan ser respondidas también el 28 de julio. Que tengan un muy buen día y muchas gracias por participar.